Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this is going to be a video response to the ReviewSpot's 2012 Census Getting to Know You, the Collector video. This is 11 questions accumulated by the ReviewSpot himself, and he basically asked for people to post their responses in comments or even do video responses. And since I'm a mobile user and I really have not a lot of space when leaving comments, I mean, people who know me, I end up commenting up to 5 times just to get a thought across. And so I elected to do a video response. So I'm going to do my best to answer these 11 questions with as little rambling as possible, but forewarning, there will probably be plenty of it. And let's see what happens. So question number 1. How long have you been collecting? I've been collecting forever. Ever since I was a kid, I always collected toys and stuff like that. I had a lot of relatives who would give me everything from Superpowers action figures and, the Batmobile toy, Mask figures and cars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, that kind of stuff. And I was kind of loosely collecting back then as a kid, but I would say the time that I actually consciously started to collect would be my mid to early teens, probably in the 90s. I became obsessed with Star Trek, and I started buying just a lot of Star Trek stuff. Next Generation figures. I had the entire box set of the 7 characters from TOS. I had some Deep Space Nine figures, and I even had a couple play sets, the Enterprise D bridge set, as well as the Enterprise D transporter set, and which I eventually took a soldering iron to because it broke, and I figured it would look more cool as a damaged ship or something, but that was a fail. In any case, the answer to the question is, I'd say about my teens in the 90s. What is the main thing I collect? Well, this is actually very varied for me. I mean, I collect action figures, toys, collectibles, comics, books. DVDs and movies is probably one of the most frequent thing that I collect. I've always been a movie buff, and for a long time thought I would want to get into movie production, that kind of thing. And so I've always been interested when you have like these special features, the behind the scenes, making ofs and stuff like that. Whenever these DVDs have that, I love it. But that's probably one of the most frequent, but I don't think it's actually the most frequent thing that I've collected. I'd say over the years the most frequent thing would have to be posters, and that's movie posters, comic book art posters, TV show stuff, all that kind of stuff. I've always bought up posters for the things that I like very frequently. And I mean, when I was a teenager and you would go into my room in my parents' house, you would never tell what the original color of the walls were painted because literally every square inch would be covered by something, poster-wise. So I would say posters is probably the most often thing collected for me. Moving on to question number 3, what is the origin of your YouTube name? My name is obviously sXeblues, and as I always say in my intro, Johnny Blues, the Blues Man. sXeblues is actually, the SXE comes from straight edge. That is the little sort of moniker for the straight edge movement. And while I don't associate myself with the movement, it is the mindset that I'm passionate about. No drinking, no smoking, no drugs. And that is something that it became very important to me because after my dad died, and I've said this in other videos where I've done Q&As and stuff, basically I had every opportunity to go down a very dark and destructive path, and certain things awakened in me at the right time. And before I even knew what straight edge was, I was living that lifestyle. It wasn't until like 10 years later that I found out, oh, straight edge is actually a thing. And so that's where the SXE comes from. The blues is actually, I mean, as one might expect, it's an homage to the Blues Brothers, Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi as Elwood and Jake Blues, respectively. And this is something I picked up from my father and just grew a passion for because my parents were both into oldies and stuff like that, 50s, 60s music. And I even got into older stuff, the old blues and big band swing stuff from my grandfather. And so when the Blues Brothers came around, they were a perfect marriage of comedy, performance, and music. 3 of the strongest passions I've ever had in my life. And as a teenager, I started becoming consumed with it to the point that a couple former friends and I actually put on an act. We got the costumes, we learned the dances, we learned the songs, and it was much more than a karaoke type of thing, but there was no band behind us. We would find versions of the songs without the lyrics being sung, and we would sing them and perform, and that's where came from. I mean, I became known as the Blues Man because at one time you could come to me with anything you wanted to know about the Blues Brothers fictional history and as well as production history, and I could pretty much tell you an answer. So that's where the Blues Man came from and sXeblues came from. Going on to question number 4. What is one toy that is better than you thought it was once you bought it? That would have to be forelaying into the question about the most expensive. I have this figure that is VMF Motoko Kusanagi figure. It was an import from Japan, of course, from the anime series Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. And I saw that it was superposable and really well articulated, brilliant looking sculpt. And I laid out a ton of money for it, for me. And when I got it, it was just amazing. It's the most amazing action figure I probably have ever owned. So that'll be that. Question number 5 is, what is one thing that you regret buying because it didn't live up to your expectations? I'm never really one to leave things to chance when I'm spending money on collectibles or things that I am collecting. And I mean, I usually do the research. I want to know that I'm going to be happy with it when I get the product, whatever it is. I think most often I end up regretting like DVDs that I'll buy, that I'll be in like Best Buy on the rare occasion that I can get there anymore, and I'll look at the DVD cover and it'll seem like something I could be into, and 9 times out of 10 it is. It's something that I'm satisfied that I bought. But every once in a while you end up with those ones that just rub you the wrong way, or they really suck, and you wish you wouldn't have spent the money. And that's about where the regrets come in buying stuff. So, I mean, collection-wise, this was really hard to answer. I'd say to try to answer it, the most recent thing I've attained was a DC Direct Arkham City Series 2 or Wave 2 Catwoman figure. Love the figure, love the look of the figure, love the sculpt. The face could be, as I saw the review spot said in one of his reviews of the figure, could have been a little better. But I think the biggest complaint I have about it, and this is something you have to watch for with DC Direct figures, is the articulation points are very stiff. I'm afraid I'm going to break it. It's not like this figure would ever be anything more than just displayable. You know, I just want to display these figures. I'm not playing with them. I don't need superposability, but if it has articulation points, I don't want to be afraid that I'm going to break it apart by, pushing an arm this way or a wrist that way. And that's the problem with this figure. So it's kind of like 50-50. I'm very happy I got it, but I wish it would have been a little looser on the joints and stuff like that. So moving on to question number 6. What is the one thing that deserves to have a toy made of it? This for me was a perfect time to basically say I desperately want an ambush bug figure. I have never seen one made. Don't know if one exists. The DC Universe Classics figures have been covering almost every figure imaginable. I don't even know if the Justice League Unlimited or whatever they're calling the wave now line of figures has an ambush bug, but I've never seen an ambush bug figure made, and I love the character, and I would love to have a figure of him. So that answers that. On to question number 7. What is the most you've spent on one item? Again, referencing back question number 4, was it, I think? The VMF Motoko Kusanagi figure from Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. This was a direct out of Japan import that I pre-ordered for $98. The most I've ever spent on any action figure or collectible that isn't a DVD box set. And yeah, I was happy with it. I'm glad I got it. So that'll move us on to question number 8. Have you ever had times when you thought about stopping collecting? I actually have had times where I have not only considered stopping collecting, but I actually have stopped collecting on 3 separate occasions in my life, and usually instigated by someone else. I was somewhat impressionable to the idea that, one becomes an adult and has to get rid of toys and childish things and so on and so forth, and usually prompted by others. I would begin what I called a purge. I would start getting rid of things I collected that I really loved and regret to this day getting rid of. And so, yeah, I've not only thought about it, but I actually have done it and lived to regret it. So, question number 9. What is your holy grail? What is the one thing you would love to own no matter the cost? There are actually a lot of things, because I'm not somebody who has much money, if any, to get collectibles anymore. Very rarely can I. And there's a whole line of Kai figures, I think they're called, like Big Boss and the Boss from the Metal Gear series, Final Fantasy figures like Squall Leonhardt, Renault Hartley, Cloud Strife, all of those figures, that kind of stuff. Really superposable, super deluxe, almost doll-size figures. And then there's the Doctor Who 11 Doctors action figure set, which has all 11 of the Doctor's incarnations in action figure form. But if we were to get onto a super end-all, be-all, if you will, holy grail that I haven't had my hands on since I was a little kid, it would definitely be the Superpowers Superman figure. And for the longest time in my life, I have wanted to be able to hunt this figure down again, whether in the box, whether open, preferably open probably, just to have my hands on this figure again someday. I hope eventually it'll happen. Preferably one that is not, the paint scraped or falling apart, not too banged up where the joints are ready to fall off, and the arms and the legs and stuff. I would just so love to have another Superpowers Superman figure. Haven't had one since I was a little boy, and yeah, that would definitely be a biggie. Question number 10. Do you have a Holy Grail that you were finally able to get, and did it live up to your expectations? Now, I was about to default back to the Motoko Kusanagi figure, which I actually mentioned twice, but referencing a Superman figure, the first Superman figure I was ever able to attain, this goes back several years now, DC Direct had come out with a Superman, I guess it's part of their JLA line that they had, like wave one of that years ago. And this is the, as it's called, angry-faced Superman figure. And it's the first Superman figure I actually had since I was a little boy. And it lived up to my expectations. I love this figure to this day. It's my go-to figure for being my favorite Superman figure overall, even though I've collected several since then. And I just absolutely love it. So that will get us on to the final and 11th question. What is one toy that gets too much attention and you can't figure out why it's so popular? Now, originally when I heard this question, I almost defaulted by saying Barbies, but when you really think about it, I mean, Barbies have been around for ages. There are so many different sort of, spin-offs to it, superhero versions, the Disney princess versions, I Love Lucy, old TV shows, modern TV shows, all these different versions for so many years. So yeah, I actually do get that. The one thing that actually occurred to me, though, in follow-up to that was Hello Kitty. What the hell is Hello Kitty? Does anyone know? I mean, I've heard that this is maybe originally based on an anime or something or whatever, cartoon. I don't exactly know. But that's the point. Most people who buy it don't know. They know it's a little pretty cute, pinkish kitty face, and that's pretty much the length of it. I know that a bunch of teen girls and women all over the world, for years, I see these Hello Kitty things everywhere. And all they know is that it's a cute little, cat face. So I don't get it. I really don't. I can't wrap my head around the attraction of the Hello Kitty thing, especially when people don't even know what it's all about. Not that I do, but I'd love to know, so there you go. That's pretty much going to be my answers for the 11 questions of the ReviewSpot's 2012 Census Getting to Know You, the Collector. I definitely suggest if you heard any of these questions that you would really love to answer, you either go check out his video, which I'll link below, and comment your own responses, or even do a video response, because this was actually pretty fun to do. So, yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for me. I hope you enjoyed my trip down answering questions lane, and memory lane, if you will. And so that's going to be it from me. I hope you're all doing well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.